Hi, everyone. I am Catherine Rose, CEO and founder of Wise. We provide on-demand expert advice to help small businesses, professionals, and entrepreneurs accelerate their business or career growth. Our nearly 1,000 experts from around the world help folks with affordable one-on-one advice that helps them go farther faster in their business or career. And today, we're very excited to have another Ask the Expert Live and our getWise Wednesday. And we're very excited to have Ilhiana Rojas. She's author of the newly released book, Extraordinary Latinas. She is a seasoned business strategist, executive, and career transformation strategy coaching consultant, diversity and inclusion consultant, a Hispanic advocate, a best-selling author, and an international motivational speaker. She has over 20 years of executive experience in top Fortune 500 companies, leading and coaching professionals, teams, and businesses into success. Ilhiana has coached leaders of all levels and has delivered impactful coaching programs to over 1,000 professionals across a variety of industries and sectors. Welcome, Ilhiana.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me to Ask the Expert by Wise.
Well, you are, one of our top experts in our career and leadership, and I know that you have been someone we featured many, many times through our partnerships and with the corporations that we're working with. And but I also know that your expertise lends itself really well to small businesses, entrepreneurs, anyone in the professions, because obviously, one of our biggest challenges as we're building and growing businesses or growing in our career is really these ideas of leadership strengths and how do we lead teams and how do we be a good team member, and so I'm just really excited to get some insight from you. But I did the formal biography, but I want you to take a few minutes and give the audience an idea of who you are and how did you end up in this role.
Yes, well, I'm a chemical engineer. That's what I graduated from college, and went to what you were saying, went straight into marketing and sales in a Fortune 500 company. All of this back in Mexico. That's for another story how that happened, but that's really where I started my career and where I grew, and from there, it just went all uphill, having a thriving career in corporate, moving between marketing and sales, getting promoted every other year. And I moved from different Fortune 500 companies, always with that expectation of reaching that coveted, leadership or executive position. That was my initial goal. And then when I finally got there, there came an opportunity to be able to come to the US, because all of this was back in Mexico. To come to the US and continue to grow more to a global, to manage global businesses and on a global level. And then after 20 years, I realized that I started to think about what would my next step look like. Right. And I realized that my corporate career was not going to be my next step. Although I enjoyed it, I really liked a lot of it. Looking back, I realized that building my teams to become high-performing teams and building my leaders to become high-performing leaders was, I honestly believe, one of the most important reasons for the success of the businesses that I was in. Right. And I wanted to do that full time versus just a part of a role. And that's when I decided that the next step in my career was going to be to focus on exactly that, on building teams, on building businesses, on building organizations, on building individuals or professionals from a leadership perspective, and helping them thrive either in their corporate environment or as an entrepreneurs, in both sides, because that's really where my heart was, where I could do it all day, and I do it all day with a smile on my face. So that's when I jumped to head my own company and to build my own consulting firm. And at first it just seems like, hey, I've done that. I've built multi-million-dollar businesses, in corporate. How difficult can it be now to build my own company? And yes, I faced also all of those challenges. But I think living in both worlds and having the experience and the expertise of being a leader, both in the corporate environment in two different countries and headquarters and handling global teams, and then being on my own and being like that entrepreneur and a leader as an entrepreneur, has given me that experience that I can now share with my different clients, either individual or businesses, to then help them build their own leadership skills and their own whatever they need to hone in to be successful in the area that they're in.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I know that, both of us came from corporate backgrounds, and, that the whole question of, how hard is this? Well, it's pretty hard, right? And like, I often say, I'll joke with some of my friends and I'll say that, it's all fun and games until someone has to order the toilet paper or paper towels. It really comes down to that, it really comes down to that, like, little bits of the details. That's where the challenge often comes with entrepreneurship. But in building these teams, and I know that obviously Wise Her is really focused in on helping folks accelerate their business or their career, and that acceleration. And I'll start on the small business side or the entrepreneur side. That becomes challenging because I know for me, I've led sales teams, totally different than like leading an entire company, right? And I think with other entrepreneurs, you start with this really fantastic idea. Hopefully, you're at that point where it's sort of taking off, but then I need to make my first hire and I need to do this. But all this, this noise bombards you with, we want to have a good company culture. We want to have a vision. You know what I mean? All these kinds of things. So talk a little bit about, from your experience and with your clients, working with your clients, the way that folks should really look at when they're starting to scale. What does leadership really mean at that point? And what are some really important qualities of good leaders at that point?
I would say there are several, but two are the most important ones, at least from my point of view. One is, as a leader, believing that you have all the answers. And the second one, that we can do it all ourselves. Because I faced it myself, and I went through it, and I go through it with a lot of entrepreneurs that I support. Is we come with this, mindset or belief that we're already at a certain level, we've already accomplished certain things. We need to have all the answers. We need to set the direction. We need to know, make the decision. We need to know how things are done. And the reality is, especially as you start your own business, is you don't have all the answers.
Right.
You have a set of expertise, you have a set of skill set and a set of talents, which are incredible, but we're not know-it-alls, and we have to lean on others, and asking others for help, especially at a certain level, it becomes like a mindset challenge, because how can you pull back and show that vulnerability or show that humility or whatever it is that you feel by saying, I really have no idea how to do this, and I need somebody else to help me do whatever is the process or the activity or the task at hand to resolve the problems that you need to do to be able to grow and scale your business. And for a very long time, I remember my first year, kicking off the business, I suddenly was faced with, I need to do an invoice. And I'm like, I have no idea how to do an invoice. Like, how do you do that, right? Or put together a contract, or things that when I was in corporate, somebody else did for me. And now I had to do myself. And I thought that I honestly had to do it myself. Mm-hmm. And those were barriers for scaling in the first year, because I had to do things that I didn't know how to do. I didn't want to ask, or I didn't believe, or I didn't know who to ask. Right. And then I thought I had to have the answers. And I think until the second year, going into the second year, when I realized, you know what, I can't. Like, I need to ask for others for help, that's when then, the growth really and the acceleration that you talk about happened, because it's by leaning on others, their expertise, their value, their knowledge. That's when then, all the pieces pull together of
Right.
teams, even if you are a solopreneur. Like, you still need a team of people
Right.
outside of experts that can help you, do those things and those activities and those tasks that maybe you're not an expert on. And that's where I found a lot of the value of being, a part of Wise Her in the early stages, because that's where I could contact other experts in their fields and the fields that I did not know or had not really a lot of knowledge on, that I could, feel that trusted, at least, environment of, okay, I know that I can ask this person for help, and they're gonna help me without judging me, because that's the other thing.
Yes.
The judging piece, and trusting that the other person will not look at you, or you might not feel that they're looking at you in
Right.
certain ways.
Well, I appreciate that plug. I do, absolutely. But, to your point though, like, when you're starting out as a leader, especially when we're scaling our businesses, or even as I'm sure as you've got promoted up through the ranks too, I think there was that pressure to sort of come off of you as if you have all the answers, right? And there's an old adage too. It's like, if you want something done, give it to a busy woman, because we just kind of get it done, right?
Yeah.
But when you're scaling your team, talk a little bit about that piece of it right there, where you're scaling the team and you have to let go and let other people do it, but it's very challenging. So maybe some tips on being able to do that more easily or more comfortably.
Yes. And you're right. It's very hard, especially some of us, and I include myself on it. They're very task driven and want, like, know that we can do it. And sometimes letting go, it's very, very hard. And I would say three things. One is, I now value things or look at things from an impact perspective, and say, is me doing this, taking the time to do this activity, really going to create the impact that I want? Or can it be something that somebody else can do, so that then I can spend my time creating the impact that I want? And that has helped me be able to put things under perspective and say, maybe it's not time well spent for me to focus on these tasks, and I can give it to somebody else, that they will then thrive. It'll empower them. It'll give them also knowledge and build like their skill set in turn, and therefore I can focus. It'll be a good situation for them to create impact, and it'll be a good moment for me to then create the impact that I want to create. So impact has been one of those things that has helped me sort of in that delegation. What things do I delegate? What things do I don't? And be able to be more conscious and add that perspective, or intentional, that's the word, and add that perspective when delegating. I would say that's one. And then the other is view people by their skill set and their talents, and how the things that make them thrive, and lean on those, not necessarily on their experience, because
Right.
sometimes people might not have experience in something or knowledge in something that you're going to ask them to do, but if they have the skill set, if they have the ability, if they have that other piece that'll help them, the drive to do it, then the knowledge comes after. Then you can sit down and carve some time to build the knowledge for them. And I think looking back at my teams when I was in the corporate environment, that was one of the things that I didn't realize I was doing with my teams. Bringing people from different with different experiences, from different places, with different backgrounds, and building those diverse teams that had the skill set that was needed for the role and for the team in itself. without worrying so much. Do they have the 10 years of marketing
Right.
experience? Do they have the whatever years of whatever role experience? Because that's just knowledge that it's good.
Yeah.
I'm not saying
Yeah.
bad, but it's something that you can teach versus like that other piece of the skill set and the talents that it's harder to, not impossible, but it's definitely harder and
It's much
takes
more
more time to
challenging.
teach.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and you mentioned diverse teams, and I know obviously there's a huge focus on diversity. Finally, hopefully it'll stick. And but when you're building you're building your teams, and you're trying to bring in these diverse voices, because we know that it's very powerful to have that. Talk a little bit about recruiting in the diverse in that diverse environment, and also when you do have a diverse team, either thought or ethnicity or location or whatever. Talk a little bit about how to kind of help folks think about bringing together, making it more cohesive. You want the diversity, but at the same time, you all have to kind of be rowing toward the same goal, or whatever that saying is. And so talk a little bit about, that as you build your teams.
Yes, it's very important, and we've seen like studies, from all these different global firms that show the benefits of having a diverse team in terms of whatever, from an identity perspective, from a thought perspective, from a location, from all of these, different backgrounds. So I think hopefully it will stick, because now there's evidence to show the benefits in terms of the impact to a business. I think it starts with understanding what the end goal is of the team, or the business, or that you're looking to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
Understand what it is that you're looking for, and then what are your values, or what are the culture that you're trying to embed into those. And then from there, really be clear on then how each person, or how each role is going to contribute to achieving that goal,
Right.
and then to adding into that culture, that's aligned with that culture, with those values, and look at the positions, and look at the people from that point of view. Because if they're aligned from a values perspective, if they're aligned from a purpose perspective, with whatever you're trying to accomplish with your team, then people will be engaged. They will wake up and jump out of bed in the morning, because they're aligned with the impact and the goal, to your point, that we're trying to accomplish as a business or as a team. When those things are not clear, when I've heard from many people, like the goal is increase revenue, or earn more money, or
Yeah.
whatever it is, that's not something, I mean, it's tangible, but
Right.
that's not like something that creates impact. It's just what are you trying to accomplish, but it doesn't talk about the why you're trying to accomplish, what's going to be the benefit to society, to community, to individuals, to the world, to
Right.
the industry, to whatever it is that where you're located. Because that's how we relate with the work that we do, in terms of the impact that we're trying to create, versus just growing double-digit growth
Right.
from
Just
a
growing
revenue
to grow.
perspective.
Right. And I think that's really important, because I know that there's a lot of there's a lot of news articles and different things about this so-called Great Resignation, and there's all
Yes.
kinds of different opinions on that, and I'm in your camp, in the sense that I think that when people don't have that purpose, or understand what their role is in facilitating that that purpose or that impact, that's when it's easy to say, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore, right? And I also think too that with leaders, I mean, I've been a victim of bullying in the workplace, and I know a lot of women, I know a lot of people, quite frankly, unfortunately, that and I think that sometimes that's what happens. The leaders lose sight of what the impact they're doing, and they focus on, we've got to get this done. It's a task, like you said, from that taskmaster perspective. And that's where the micromanaging comes in, versus, as you said, looking at the task list and saying, what's going to have the most impact on the business, and taking a little bit of that time. And I think as a mom now, it's helped me be a better leader, because my kids will ask me, well, why do I have to do that? And you can't just say because I told you so, although you're really tempted to. And I suppose you could, right? But it doesn't get them to do what you want them to do. So you say, I really need you to do this, so then we could go do that, right? And then when I give them that impact of their little task that they have to do, like emptying the dishwasher, like I give them the impact of that. They seem to be more resigned to doing it, right? So if you empty the dishwasher, then we can go, to the movies faster, you know what I mean? And, so I think that that's really important. What you said is that, especially as you're growing, and we have a lot of folks in startups in Wise Her, and this will be, this is broadcasting live into some of our startup communities. And I think when your, investors are, kind of knocking on the door, where are your profits, you can kind of lose sight of that. But if you really want that, that growth and your business to succeed, you need to take exactly what you're saying and take that to heart, and make sure you're constantly communicating the impact, right? You talk a lot about this idea of a purpose-driven mindset. I mean, I think that plugs in a little bit here, but maybe expand on that a little bit more.
Yes, definitely. And it is something that I try to encourage a lot on myself, and then on the people that I work with, the professionals that I work with. And it's really honing and owning and embracing your purpose in everything that you do, because we are, to your point, like we get immersed into the day-to-day of the tasks, right? Like I have my list of like endless tasks, and it's very, very easy to just get into the mood of, I have to do this, I have to send the email, I have to create the whatever training or call somebody. And in that, after a while, you get lost why you even started doing things in the first place. So I myself, like I always say that I do everything with a purpose-driven mindset, but I still need to every week go back and revisit all my tasks, all the things, all the projects, and are they really building into my purpose, or are they really aligned with the impact that I said I was going to create? Am I missing on, certain opportunities that I said that I was going to focus on, and suddenly, something happened, and I'm now navigating to somewhere else, and exactly. I need to pull myself back to what was that original intent, what was that original purpose, and actually some of the projects like the book Extraordinary Latinas came out of, I was already walking one way, and then suddenly doing that check of am I heading in the right direction? I realized I'm not. Like I'm creating impact, yes, but not the one that I said, from a purpose perspective that I said that I was going to do. And then I need to keep pulling myself back. It sort of feels like you mentioned the rowing at the beginning as an example. And I feel it's like that, like you get into, this boat where you're all rowing, but suddenly the current can take you some other places, and you're so invested in trying to get ahead or trying to do something that you don't realize that you're getting pulled in another direction. So that purpose-driven mindset is something that's critical to keep you on check and to keep you on track with your purpose, to make sure that everything that you're creating is really aligned with your why. And you can change it. I mean, that's also valid along the way, but at least make it intentional versus 4 years have passed and suddenly you're halfway through the other side of the world that you said that you were going to.
Fantastic. Well, you mentioned your new book, so you talk a lot in your books, your one prior to, and I know Extraordinary Latinas is one that really aligns with one of your purpose-driven your purposes, and that is really helping women elevate their voices. So talk a little bit about that. What does that even mean to you? And, how did it sort of manifest itself into this new book of Extraordinary Latinas?
Yes. Well, the book really covers two things that were important to me. One is help me overcome my fear of writing. Forever, I've always thought that I can't write, that's not, I'm an engineer. So for me, it's like, give me numbers, give me Excel sheets, give me data, and I'm all for it. Put a blank piece of paper to write something, like I would literally freeze. I'm like, I can't do that. So for a very, very long time, I believed that writing was not something that I could do. And that prevented me from doing a lot of things also, because immediately if it required writing, I just put it to the side. I'd procrastinate. I'd like try to do something else that it didn't involve writing, because I had that belief that I couldn't do it. So last year I realized that I couldn't ask my clients to face their fears, to overcome their fears, to overcome their limiting beliefs if I wasn't doing it also.
We have to walk the talk.
We
Absolutely.
have to walk the talk.
I use my own expert network all the time, because I sit there and I start thinking, and I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah.
I have people I can ask. You're right. You have to walk the talk. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's when okay, then I need to write a book. It's going to help me. I wrote a smaller book in 2019, which was great, but it didn't help me. It was a small book. I was like playing it safe, to be honest. And then I said, no, 2021, like I have to go big or go home, but I can't just like play it halfway and be on the safe side. And that's where the opportunity to then it built into it merged into the passion or my purpose of elevating, the voices of other Latinas specifically. It has taken me a long time to build my own voice and to create that space, which I've been very thankful for actually other Latinas to help me in the journey of doing that. So I thought it was the perfect opportunity for now pay it back and being able to use now my voice to help elevate others' voices and others' incredible stories that have helped me along the way. And I hope that through the book, people get inspired, get empowered to then share and elevate their voice and share their extraordinary selves, because I believe that we all have an extraordinary story to share. It's just finding that courage, finding that fearlessness to just put it out there and let others know. So it was sort of a merge between I want to write a book. I really want to make it a statement. I don't pretend to be, like the author that's going to be like now. That wasn't my intention, but my intention was to at least overcome that fear. Now I can't say that I can't write anymore. And use it as a platform to be able to then elevate, these other 12 incredible Latinas voices and share their stories and become the platform to inspire many other Latinas and other women and men and, allies and whoever wants to just to get inspired, so that they in turn can find that courage to elevate their own voices and share their stories.
Well, that's fantastic. I mean, and obviously, I know that you are a staunch advocate for Latinas in business and in entrepreneurship and in professionals. And, for our viewers out there who are Latina or have, allies, talk a little bit about some of the advice that you have for them, specifically in that for those folks who are looking to either start or grow a business or grow professionally.
Yes, I always focus on three things. The first one is to look into yourself and embrace who you are. And embrace your everything, like your purpose, your talents, your value, your uniqueness. Really believe it starts with believing in ourselves. If we don't believe in who we are and the value that we bring and the impact that we can create, then it's going to be very hard for anybody else to do that for us. So it really starts with that embracing who you are. And then the second would be then share it with others. That's where the elevating your voice comes from. I've met incredible people in my life that, like I tell them, if you don't advocate for yourself, you become the world's best kept secret. And then we're not creating, the impact that we know that we can create, because nobody knows about us. So it's about finding the way that you feel authentically comfortable in sharing your voice and advocating for yourself. There are different ways, but definitely it's something that you need to be very intentional to do. And then building what we've been talking about from the beginning, that strong network of people that will help you, one, be the echo to your voice, and two, help you along the way to be able to get to that goal that you want and that you've envisioned. Because like we said, we're not all experts, but all of us together, we are. And we can help, accomplish those goals and create that impact.
Fantastic. Well, we're out of time for today, and I just want to say thank you so much for joining us and always being such a huge supporter of mine, of Wise Her, and all the Latinas and all the folks that you work with, and you elevate their voices. So thank you so much. And everyone out there, please feel free to connect with Ilhiana on our on the Wise Her platform, and also make sure to check out her new book, as she mentioned, Extraordinary Latinas, available on Amazon. And of course, if you want to take a deeper look into how diversity, leadership, and elevating your voice will help you go farther, faster in your career or business, Ilhiana's profile link, will put that into the comments on the video. But thank you again, Ilhiana, for joining us. And we really look forward to hearing more from you and hopefully reading more of your books.
Yes. People are already asking, what's the new book for 2021? I'm like, let's 2021 get over it, and then we'll figure out.
Right. Yeah, right. 2021 is not over yet. So yeah, exactly. And for everyone out there, we'll see you next time on Ask the Expert Live. You can always go to wiseher.com to see any of our experts out there. But if you want to keep up with our topics on Ask the Expert Live specifically, head over to goasktheexpert.com and get on the list. Thank you all again. And thank you, Ilhiana. And everyone have a wonderful day.